Welcome to a new adventure of Lightbar 6x6 Recovery. Enjoy and hit that subscribe. This is a situation update on what occurred and what I broke. So I said in my video, hey, maybe a charger doesn't work. It's not that the charger doesn't work. The problem is they had it wired. So I had a battery here and here wired to 12 volts. And then there and there wired to 12 volts. And then this wire here goes to this winch back here. That's 12 volts, not 24. The truck's 24. So what I've had to do is I was excessively using the back. I drained the two 12-volt batteries. So I did have a battery booster here. So I put it on the back two batteries in there and would jump start the truck and then leave it charging. I left it running all day long. I never could get it to hold a charge again. So I took the two front batteries, wired them as 24, and then I'm going to take that back inverter down there and wire the back two batteries as 12 volts and then try to use the inverter to charge the battery. Back. All right. So I explained the two batteries. There's a shutoff. That is the shutoff for the 12 volts. This is the failed charging for the battery that I was going to have here, just to run the one in the back. That's over the 60 amps that this can put out. This started flashing when that had a load on it. So, yeah. So the new idea is to I replaced the motor in the back with a 24 volt motor, but instead of replacing the relays, I want it to work remote. So when the camera systems in, if I go over something that's really high at an angle or really low at an angle, I can then adjust it so that the wheels don't roll and then I lose my load, or in this case, the truck I'm towing. So that's the game plan. Now this one does have a 24 volt to 120 inverter, because I plug in here to this to basically charge these batteries. That's the only thing that's not on the shutoff. So this wire here goes to the winch, and I have a problem. It won't go far enough. If I connect it to there, it'll only be 12 volts. I see those two screws right here. Those, I think, is another power supply. And if this goes in enough from an angle, I can reach that. About 6 inches, yeah. So let me pull this back out, reconnect it to the back of that. Then I have the shutoff for that. When it's powered, I have another shutoff in the back. Yeah, that'll work. So let me pull this through. There we go. Now, let's see. It's long enough. Oh, make sure it's turned off. Off, okay. Really? I'm like 3 inches too short. I'll have to see if I can find some more. I may have to go all the way back to get it. Maybe cut some zip ties. Alright, so we'll get back to you. Let me at least test the winch. See what we're doing. Okay, so I have it plugged in there. This is the device. So that motor, I replaced at 24 volts. But I kept all the relays and everything that are 12 volts. So that's 10 volts. That's 12 volts. So I'm using the power pack to demonstrate that it's getting 12 volts. So it looks like it's working. So how it works is when I press down, it activates that solenoid and this side of the solenoid at the same time. So that used to be the power wire that connected to there. And then I have the shut off up here too, and that's still off because I'm not powering the motor. So now I got to get 3 inches of that wire there. Otherwise I got to run a whole new one. So that's where we're at, guys. And that's to control this thing. And then ultimately, the final upgrades is I want to be able to use these 2 buttons and this one. I'll set them for momentary. Low being lower, X being high, because I can find one for X. Now on this setup, this and this are relayed for 20 amps. I don't need it, but this one and this one are normally open and normally closed. So the idea is when this powered up, it'll provide 12 volts constantly to there. If I connect that to the green wire, and this is not in use, for instance, if I just had the power on, I could use the remote in the back to operate the winch. Now, when I'm driving, saying toning someone out, ultimately, oh, by the way, I'm also getting a 4 wiring system for that. And that's why I'm not running it. You think, oh, I'm lazy for not running the wire. No. If you guys know anything about pulling, I got to get as many wires in here at one time without getting kinked. So ultimately, I want to make sure all my cable, radio, antenna wires go through there. So ultimately, when I pull my wire, I'll have to have the wires for the camera as well to be wired into this. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'm just gonna hot wire it to make sure I can use it, and maybe just run a 12 volt wire all the way to the back. You know, if I do that, then I can use the winch anytime I want. But I'm also looking at 3 inches shorter on my 24 volts, and I still haven't figured out the ground issue yet. I have to call Butcher tomorrow and find out, because they're telling me what I'm doing can't be done, or they can't understand why I want to do it. And I still have to clean up this mess up here. So let me do a couple other upgrades with you guys. We'll ask, well, why would you use a bullet plug and how do you do it? So the bullet plug with this end, this one doesn't have any electricity going through it. So if I connect it to ground, it's not going to do anything. You put this end on the one that, if it, like this case, would be positive, it can't easily touch anything metal and then short. Of course, you put a fuse on the other end, but I'm putting it on this side of the pump because I may have to remove the pump. So I want to be able to disconnect it instead of cutting the wire every time. So that's one of the reasons you use it. Talk to you later. Okay, now late night. All right, so that last ground right there, that's it. So now I have 24 volts going to the back. We wired the inside of this. So that yellow wire, the orange wire, butt spliced to the green wire. Green wire goes back to the ignition in the back. Now originally, I'm going to wire it to the siren, but right now I don't have the camera and I'm limited on space. So once I run the wire, I'm not going to be able to run the camera wires either. So this allows me to use this. Same design. Truck has to be in the on run position in order to use it. And I still have the shut off here for the 24 volts. But I guess now the moment of truth. Let's get it all turned on and see what we can do. Okay. Moment of truth. 24 volt, 12 volt setup. You can hear the beeping in the truck, which means it's on. See if we control. Up. Yeah. Down. All right. It looks like it works the way it's supposed to. Which means technically I'd start the truck. And then it won't ever go dead again. So that's drawing 60 amps or 80 amps versus the other one. So we'll test it. I'll let you know.